Hi everyone, welcome into your course. I'm so excited to have you here. My name is Taya Rain, for those of you that don't already know, and I want to welcome you to just get settled in as I begin to speak about your course. This is such a beautiful, exciting moment in time. I am so excited for you, for the journey ahead and all that you are going to experience and have forevermore with this amazing breath work. In this course, you're going to learn the fundamentals of breath work. You're going to learn and explore so many different techniques, and you will find different values in each one of those techniques. So let's go ahead and hop in. As I talk, I would like to suggest that you take notes if you're a note taker, if that's a way that you particularly absorb information. I imagine that you did the little free intro, so you already were learning a little bit about how we're going to work with breath work and what it does for you. If you've already done breath work before, that's great. See if you can come to this with beginner's mind though, so that you can really glean as much information as possible and have the deepest, most beautiful integration. If you are completely new to breath work, that is totally fine and wonderful. And that is why you are here in this intro. So no matter where you are on the spectrum, beginner to advanced, there's something here for you. I am sure of that. And I promise you that the results are going to be amazing. And they are, as anything in life, completely dependent upon your effort. So let's talk a little bit about when to practice. Ideally, if you can practice in the morning, get up and maybe you need to go pee or whatever it is you need to do first thing in the morning. Get some water, get your body awake, and then come to your seated practice. It is ideal to have one place that you go to just so that you can begin to develop a really good routine. And then go to your practice in the evening before you go to sleep, maybe an hour before, sometime before you're really, really sleepy. And in this way, we begin our day with intentional breath work, with our seated meditation practice, and we end our day in this way. The benefits of that are that we get our body awake in the morning in a new way. We're revitalizing ourselves first thing in the morning with that deep oxygenated breath. And if you wish to lean into intention, I want to suggest that you begin to weave your intention for your day into that breathing time. And in the evening, when we're breathing, we're really giving ourselves time to unwind the nervous system, release any stresses from the day, and to bring ourselves that fully oxygenated breath before we go into our sleep state. If it appeals to you, you can set your intention for your dream state, and this works really miraculously to help us to rest in a deeper way, to dream better, to perhaps glean insight from our dreams. All right, so with your breathing, I'm going to ask you a lot to be checking in with your breath. And I want to ask you to go ahead and begin to do that as I talk. See if you can just sit and observe your breath even as you're listening. The very first practice that we're going to do today is breath observation, which you probably did in the little intro, and then we're going to hop into some rhythmic breathing, and then we're going to stack in a few other breathing techniques today. So as you're listening to me, just observing your breath, this is going to help you to be really steady and to really be able to focus more into the moment. When we are observing our breath, we can also just kind of easily tune into the body, seeing how the body's doing. Is it relaxed? So we're weaving in that self-awareness. Now I want to talk about rhythmic breath, deepening the breath. As we deepen our breath and we go from that observation of our breath to consciously breathing, we then are bringing in more oxygen, right? What else is happening? We are allowing the body to deepen into relaxation as we release places of tension along the body, and especially within the core part of our body. We are releasing old, stale air and all the toxicity that we're holding down in the lining of our lungs, and we're availing ourselves of a deeper, full inhale. So all of that fresh energy, all of that fresh oxygen is filling us. The nervous system is being soothed, the brain is being calmed, and the left and the right hemispheres naturally begin to light up more and to learn to communicate with one another more. And what do I mean by this? So for most of us in life, the way that we are trained to develop over time through school, through work, so on and so forth, we are generally either operating in the left brain, primarily our logical thinking brain, or primarily in the right side of the brain, the emotional feeling state, the creativity state of our beingness. Ideally, both of these hemispheres would be operating at full capacity and they would be communicating with one another. So they would have a constant, I want to call it a wave form of communication going. They will be relaying information and processes to one another. And so when we are doing breath work by nature, one of the miracles of just breathing deeply is that we get that happening. And as this is happening, essentially, we feel more wholeness. So that is what our focus is going to be today. As far as where we bring our attention, we are looking to really become more self-aware and to apply ourselves in a conscious way with our breathing. I'm not going to take that any further because this is not a course in which I kind of dive more deeply into esoteric things, but if you are interested in the more esoteric spiritual nature of breathwork, then travel along to my other courses. Okay, so now on into technique. We will start with that very simple practice, observing the breath rise and fall from the belly, and then observing the body sitting down, observing from the top of the head to the base of the body and back up again. So we will repeat that over and over. Rise and fall, sitting down. So we say the word sitting down, even though by the end of the observation of our breath seated, or our body seated, we're going to travel with our awareness back up to the top of the head. So inside of doing that, we're going to really allow ourselves to simply become more aware. And being more aware is going to allow you to relax your body more. Again, soothing the nervous system and getting that cross-lateral communication of the brain happening. Throughout this week, that is your practice. Observing and bringing that awareness as often as you can. Now, stacking onto that, the deep rhythmic breath. We are going to take our breath into a count of 7. In the intro, you did it to the count of 5, right? So just a tiny bit more. Breathing in all the way and allowing for a little slight pause, and then exhaling all the way and pausing. So we're going to pause a little bit longer than you did in your intro breath. I want to give some visual examples before you hop into that practice with your eyes closed. So I'm filling from my upper chest down into my lower chest and down into my belly. And I'm filling like a balloon down into my belly. Then exhaling, you're really squeezing the air out by pressing your navel to spine and then releasing the breath up through the lower lungs and the upper lungs. But some people breathe in the opposite way, and either way is totally fine. So you may naturally fill from your belly and then on up into your midsection and on up into your chest and your upper chest, and then releasing in the opposite direction as the first example, where you're really releasing first through upper chest, lower chest, and down on into the belly. So you're just going to observe which one is natural for you, and over time that may shift and change and grow depending upon how your breathing pattern shifts. When you're first doing breath work, sometimes it can feel challenging, but that's okay. The reason being, we're just not used to breathing deeply, and the fascia can often be very tense within most of us. So breathwork unwinds the fascia. So when you're breathing, if it feels difficult, if you feel like it's really constricted, I want you to really breathe into the awareness that primarily is your fascia being tight, and that as you're breathing, you're opening that fascia. So you're opening the fascia of the upper chest, lower chest, all around the ribs, all around the diaphragm, down into the belly, even your shoulders, your arms, your back. The fascia is all opening as you our breathing. So it is a practice, and over time, it's going to get easier and easier. I promise you that. Okay, then we are going to add in a new step for you, and it is called Ujjayi breath. Again, some of you may already be familiar with some of these. As much as possible, just lean into beginner's mind. Ujjayi breath is where we kind of lightly close off the windpipe. So we soften the front of the throat, we soften the back of the throat, and we really pull our breath down through our windpipe. And it sounds like a little bit of a wind tunnel effect, so as though you're in a tunnel and wind is moving through it. So you're going to hear that breath coming down through your throat. And then we're going to exhale. We're in rhythmic breath as we're doing Ujjayi breath, and as we exhale, we're pushing the air more forcibly back up. This creates a very soothing, calming effect for the nervous system. It is grounding, it is purifying, and it is also very energizing. So that is our basic practice today. It sounds really simple, but there is so much benefit to this. That is our seated practice. Then in our lying down practice, we're going to focus on some inhales through the nose, but then exhaling through the mouth. So a little bit different. Not a huge difference, but the value is infinite. Just these little shifts that we make. So you're going to see what that does for you. Open mouth exhale in general allows us to release heat. It allows us to release more pent-up energy. It gives more of a soothing effect. And it certainly makes us even more aware of our breath, because we have to consciously remember to breathe in through the nostrils, open our mouth, and exhale. When I say exhale through the mouth, it looks just like this. And you're going to hear this sound, ha. Ha is really the first sound that we ever make when we are born. When we open our mouth and we exhale, there's that sound of ha. So it's ever so slight, but I want you to listen for that sound. That's going to help you to be more aware and to really fully exhale. So that's it for today. It's really simple, but if you practice this every morning and evening and wherever you can throughout the day, just consciously doing some of this breathing, you are going to get a huge amount of value within this. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop into our practice.